He's getting older.
Kiss my ass, you don't like it. It's my house.
But not wiser.
Pay that man his
This is The Lefty Show.
Welcome, everybody, to The Lefty Show. I am your host, Lefty. Glad to be here with all of you today, Wednesday, the 24th of September in the year of our spaghetti monster, 2014, for episode number 94 of The Lefty Show. Welcome one, welcome all. Thank you for joining me. Everybody, thank you to everybody that's been watching, liking, favoriting, subscribing on YouTube. YouTube.com/LeftyOX is where you can find the show in its YouTube formation. Thank you to everybody that has been following me on Twitter. @Lefty643 is where you can do that. Thank you to everybody that has also been sharing the show with friends, family, and coworkers. Got the RSS feed at leftyshow.podbean.com, and sharing the show helps it grow. Try it out for yourself wherever you get your podcasts for your PC, tablet, or mobile device, Android or iOS, it doesn't matter. Search The Lefty Show. That is wherever you get your podcasts. Search The Lefty Show. Be sure to subscribe and download all the episodes at your leisure. And that will definitely help the show grow, and I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to mess with some levels on my microphone here on the input. Just been and of course, let me finish out the propers. And of course, everybody for donating, imraising.com/643 productions. imraising.com/643 productions. And I've been playing with settings on the new preamp and compressor I've got, and that it is required changing the input level on my PC of my microphone feed. And so that requires, playing with stuff to try to get it right, and might actually require. I might actually need to. Now that I think about it, I may actually need to boost the feed coming off of my off of my little mini soundboard here. Now that I think about it, because the microphone signal is boosted by the preamp and further by the compressor. I guess I could just throw it into the compressor and boost that, I suppose. Huh. Oh, well, that's another. The thing is, because the preamp only has two inputs, and if I want to have multiple microphones, gotta think about it. There's future stuff in the works for other podcasts and other YouTube series involving in like an in-studio second or partner for me, and trying to get that all set up. So I'm just trying to work out in my head. Sorry, this is probably not the proper time to do it. If you want to help out for studio costs, imraising.com/643 productions is where you can go. All right. Might be a little bit of a shortened show today. I've been looking around, and there's just not a lot going on. Every day I go to different news sites for things to complain and bitch about. But honest to God, I try to cycle through things, not harp on any one thing for a prolonged period of time, unless it is completely top of mind in American pop culture, like Ferguson, Missouri, and Ray Rice in the NFL. Those things, like breaking news stories or ongoing news stories, I'll cover. But, how many times can I bitch about the Pope? I mean, a lot. I mean, I can bitch about the Pope a lot. I can, Scoozy. I can bitch about the Pope every day, but, how many times can I say he's not a Superman? Oh, God, I just got reminded of that song from Goldfinger. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. One of the best gaming soundtracks ever. I wouldn't say the best. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was definitely an A. Definitely a solid A as far as soundtrack goes. You had Goldfinger, the Dead Kennedys on there, and I even forget who else. But that was definitely a good soundtrack. Another PlayStation title from back in the day, Dave Mirra's BMX. If you'll remember that game had a very, very solid soundtrack. I love that. Oh, Dave Mirra's BMX. I wish they would remaster it and release it. Just the first one. I mean, it got crazy enough, but that was at the height of the action sports fad. Everybody, summertime, it was all about the X Games. And Dave Mirra and Ryan Lundquist, Bob Burnquist, Tony Hawk, all kinds of people. Sal Masekela, my guy! Sal Masekela, bringing it home for you. And Dave Mirra's BMX Freestyle. What was it called? Dave Mirra's BMX Freestyle? Something like that. It was a PlayStation title. And you started out, you progressed your rider, by doing tricks and stuff. And it was in the mode of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but with BMX. And I loved BMX as a kid. I was never any good at it, but I loved it. I still remember to this day, Dave Mirra in one of the early X Games did a I believe it was a backflip tail whip off of a quarter pipe. Or maybe it was a half pipe wall. Anyway, no. It was in a quarter pipe, and he did like a backflip tail whip, and it was insane. And I remember watching that, and I thought, holy crap, that was crazy. And so Dave Mirra's BMX game dropped. I thought, it was perfect. I love video games. I love this. And the first song opens up is a Sublime song, What I Got. I believe it is. I believe that's what it's called. That game's got a very nice soundtrack. MVP Baseball 2005. Oh, baby. I got to find a way to get that on Windows 7. If somebody can hit me up on Twitter, link me to someplace. I know Operation Sports is a big website dedicated to sporting video games, and they love MVP Baseball 2005. Yeah, MVP Baseball 2005 over there. If there's a way to get that to work on Windows 7, because I want to buy an actual physical copy of the game. I'm not going to emulate it. I'm not going to download it illegally. I want to buy the actual game. I know it's rather expensive, but I'd like to get my hands on that and mod it up and play it. Oh God, I love that game so much. But that game had a great soundtrack. That game had a fantastic soundtrack, and the college baseball version of it had a very, very nice summer feel soundtrack to it. Lots of good gaming soundtracks. Why am I talking about soundtracks again? Why am I doing? Oh, it said Goldfinger. No. Superman. There we go. That was the track that led us. That was it. What I am, I'm Superman. Dun, 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 dun. Oh God, I love it. So anyway, I look around and not able to. Sometimes there's just stuff not there, and I don't want to stretch. So I'm going to try to. This may be a truncated show. Got a few things to talk about, and a new bit we're going to try out later in the show, and that is a direct result of what transpired and is providing the material for the beginning of today's show. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Lefty643, you get to see all this stuff unfold. Last night I was a sports guy I follow out of Chicago, Jason Goff, was retweeting. Apparently there was another dust-up between protesters and police in Ferguson, Missouri. There was a memorial created by mourners to Mike Brown in Ferguson, and apparently overnight it caught fire. And as a result, I don't know why people decided to get really heated in protest. I don't know if the police set it on fire, but that's some real Klansman stuff. If the police set the memorial on fire, which I doubt, but if the police did it, that's Klansman stuff. That's whoa. But more likely, it was just somebody was careless with a candle, or it was windy, and the candle tipped over and set fire to some flammable things, which also caught on fire and set fire to more flammable things, and then bam, it's up. And apparently that pissed a lot of people off. And then reports were saying from people on the ground that 6 gunshots were fired. The police say it wasn't them. So I got to believe it were the protesters. So Mike Brown's memorial being engulfed in flames because of a careless person putting down a candle allows for protesters in Ferguson to just start grabbing their guns and blam, 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 blam. Yeah, screw you, pigs. Gah. And people were saying, I caught wind of more people, especially on Twitter, more activists for Mike Brown, saying that they want a trial. They want to know why Officer Darren Wilson has yet to be arrested. And I got into it, of course, coincidentally, I just happened to use the hashtag Ferguson because I know people are monitoring that on Twitter. And I had to remark, and it's remarkable because it's as though people don't understand the judicial process. There is a grand jury convened, and they have until next year. They were only meeting once a week, and even then, their personal schedules were conflicting with their grand jury duties. Now, I don't know. I thought grand jury duty or jury duty of any kind was supposed to supersede your personal schedule, but I don't know. In Missouri, it may be different. I don't know. I was always of the mind that when you get jury duty, you better go, and you shouldn't be fired from your job for jury duty, and you get time off for jury duty, and it doesn't leak into your vacation or anything like that. At least that's what I thought, but I don't know. So they were meeting once a week, the Ferguson grand jury was, and on the docket, along with many other cases, was the Mike Brown Darren Wilson shooting, or Mike Brown shooting by Officer Darren Wilson. And that was months ago. But they were meeting once a week, and sometimes not even that because of personal schedule conflicts. And on top of that, they were hearing multiple cases. Now, a judge in Missouri has said, all right, you now have until January of 2015 to make a decision on the Michael Brown case, to whether to charge Darren Wilson, and if so, to what degree. And on top of it, now the grand jury is only hearing evidence in the Mike Brown case. They are now only deciding whether to charge Officer Darren Wilson. And that's it. What more? I am pained to try to understand what more people could want. The guy is in hiding, in active hiding. He can't pop up and go buy a jug of milk at the store. He's probably got to have people go do that for him. He's got to have runners go do this and that. He can't. He's not living a normal life. He's not living a regular life. And the grand jury is now hearing evidence, testimony from Darren Wilson, hopefully testimony from eyewitnesses. And they have a long-ass time to decide whether to charge him. They are going to make that decision. I believe 12 people have been impaneled. It's 12 people, I want to say. 12 people, 3 of whom are black, that are deciding, not that matters, obviously, that they're black, but why it would matter. Again, why aren't there black people on the grand jury? Well, why do there need to be? What does that mean? Well, because the black people understand. So you're saying that white people are incapable of understanding what? Huh? It's you that has an issue with race, not me. And anyway, but again, your issue with race is somehow deemed acceptable, whereas what you're fighting is not. Okay. But they are deciding until the end of next year whether to charge him. And that's the process. That's the process. And I got into it with one particular activist on Twitter. When I asked rhetorically, what more could people want? She replied simply, in all caps, an arrest. An arrest! And then I had to ask, so you honestly just want an arbitrary arrest and to arbitrarily put somebody on trial for their life. That's what you want. And she responded with, oh, no, we know what happened. No, you don't. No, you don't. I believe, and this is coming from somebody who believes Officer Darren Wilson committed a crime, but I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I can guess and surmise based on what limited evidence I've heard. The second autopsy performed by a doctor at the family's behest. I want to know if Darren Wilson's testimony is that Mike Brown was charging him and was very, very close to him, or as some people have said, he was standing over Darren Wilson when he was fatally shot. I want to know then, why wasn't there gunpowder residue on his hair? The fatal shot, as the private doctor performing the second autopsy said, the fatal shot came from a bullet that entered Mike Brown's skull perpendicular at the top, straight in. That's where he had hair. So I want to know if you were so close. I mean, I know gunshot residue doesn't go that far, but people are alleging that Mike Brown was really close to him, that he wasn't far away, wasn't retreating, didn't have his hands up. No, he was actually some unstoppable force towering over Officer Wilson and putting him in reasonable fear of his life. Okay, well, why isn't there gunpowder residue on his hair? The second autopsy didn't have access to his clothes, but the hair was still on the body, and the doctor found no gunpowder there. It would seem to me that if the final shot, the killing shot, was fired at or near the closest point that Mike Brown ever got to Darren Wilson, and Darren Wilson and even people that are defending Darren Wilson say Mike Brown was actually, in fact, really, really close to the officer and putting him in reasonable fear of his life, then I want to know, explain to me how there's no gunpowder residue on his hair, which, again, everything sticks to it. Let me know. Explain that to me. But even with that impropriety, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I wasn't there. Eyewitness testimony was conflicting. And the autopsy, even though, again, there was the impropriety, or the perhaps some impropriety, was inconclusive. Even the second doctor said he could have had his hands up, he could have not. I don't know. I got nothing. The grand jury is impaneled. They are convened. They are hearing evidence. Yet people, this is not enough for people in Ferguson. This is not enough for people that are outraged. And this is just an observation. Many of them appear to be black. I don't know if there's anything to that, but it's something I observe. Could be a complete red herring. I don't know. But a lot of activists seem to want Darren Wilson arrested and put on trial. And even then, the worst part is that they're making a mockery of the trial process, because as I got into it more and more with this idiot on Twitter, this idiot activist, it was like talking to a 4-year-old, really. I asked some very simple questions. I said, is arrest and trial enough? Like, can he be found not guilty? Would that be acceptable? My question was, is it acceptable to you and to people whom you know that Darren Wilson just be put on trial? You just want to have a trial so that he's entitled to his defense, but so that the prosecution can make their case before a judge and a jury in the box. Put 12 in the box, and let's do this thing. And let's figure it out. If that's what you want, okay. But you better be prepared for a not guilty. You better be prepared for that, because that's a reasonable outcome from a trial. As I drilled down more and more, and again, obfuscating and, well, this and that, we know what happened. I just answer my damn questions. Is a trial enough? Or do you need a conviction? Will you only be happy if he is arrested, charged, and convicted? You need all three. You need the trifecta. It's not enough to just have a trial. He needs to be convicted. And she said yes. And that seems to be the rallying cry for many people. Outraged about the lack of charges being brought against Darren Wilson. It's not that there's a lack of charges. It's not that there's a trial. It's all three. They want charges, a trial, and a conviction. And they will only be happy if they get all three. And at that point, I say, screw you. Screw you. Screw you, activists, and screw your cause. Because then you're making a mockery of the justice system. The only thing that will make you happy is a preordained outcome. The only thing that will make you happy is your outrage being satiated by this outcome that you have preordained, that you say, no, this has got to happen. You've got to arrest Darren Wilson, otherwise it's a travesty of justice. And I asked her, and I don't think she got it, this idiot. I said, you seem to have this all figured out because you want him arrested, tried, and convicted, and that's the only thing that'll make you happy. So you know what was there and you know what happened. It's as though you are a judge, jury, and executioner. Isn't that what you are mad at Darren Wilson for doing? Isn't this whole thing because Darren Wilson did the whole judge, jury, executioner routine on Mike Brown? And you're all upset about this? And so your answer to that is to do the same thing to Darren Wilson. Screw you. I'm at the point, honestly, where I hope the grand jury decides not to indict him. I hope. And there's the federal level, and there's no way the feds are going to let this go. There's no way Barack Obama, even though he doesn't have to run for re-election, but there's no way Barack Obama cannot direct Attorney General Eric Holder to charge Darren Wilson with something. Charge him with something, get him something. But I hope at the state level, I hope they decide not to charge him. I hope now. Because screw you, activists, and screw everybody who is calling for a preordained outcome through all this. I will be fine. You want to see, as long as the grand jury's impaneled, if you can be reasonable about that and say, well, if they hear all the evidence and they decide not to indict, well, all right, well, there may be a reason for that. And then the other people that say if there's a trial, give us a trial, and then if after the trial, not guilty verdict is acceptable, okay. But a majority, I have to believe that a majority of the people, they want to skip all that and just go to a conviction because they know what happened and they're outraged about it, by golly. Oh, dadgummit, who knew what happened. They're going to go get him. Get him. And at that point, don't you dare. People on Twitter, people on Reddit, people outraged about this. Don't you dare hide behind the justice system. Don't you dare. If that's what you want, if you just want a conviction of Darren Wilson, no matter what, and that's the only thing that can make you happy, don't call for a trial. Don't call for a trial. Don't call for a conviction by a jury of his peers. Don't do any of that because that's not justice. Justice is a public trial or any kind of, is a trial with a judge, a jury of peers, and a spirited defense. That's justice. That's our system. You have to let the system work. If you want to short circuit it, then screw it. Just go find him and run him up by his neck. If that's what you want, if the only thing that can make you happy in the Ferguson, Missouri thing that we got going on, if the only thing that will make you happy is Darren Wilson's eventual incarceration for the murder of Mike Brown, then don't dare hide behind justice. Go find him and run him up by his neck because that's what you want. That's what you want. That's what you want to do. You want to short circuit the entire process because you're outraged, because you believe that you know something that other people don't. There's no, and they screw with the logic too. Activists do, and people outraged by this. They say not charging Darren Wilson will be a travesty of justice. And I say, au contraire. Arbitrarily and even capriciously charging Darren Wilson and trying and convicting Darren Wilson is a travesty of justice. Because justice is the grand jury being impaneled. Justice is a jury, supposedly of peers, hearing evidence and deciding whether to proceed with very, very serious charges against you. That's justice. And all you everybody who's saying, charge him with anything, and then put him on trial and convict him, we just want a conviction. You would want the exact same circumspect attitude with respect to evidence when you or if you are ever charged with a serious crime. You would want those grand jury panelists to go, let's hear everything. And let's take a while to decide whether to charge this person with a pretty serious crime. Let's take some time and let's chill out, and let's see if there's enough evidence to proceed with a charging instrument. And then we'll go forward. You want the exact same thing. But because you're outraged about a poor black guy killed by a white officer in a predominantly black area, policed by an astonishingly white police force, and that just rubs you the wrong way, and now you're really outraged, well, that's not justice. You just want, then go find him. Go find him and kill him, shoot him, maim him, whatever you want to do. That's your justice. Your justice isn't my justice. Our justice. Our justice system is the grand jury impaneled, is the charging instrument, is the trial, it's the defense, the jury of your peers, and you better be prepared for this. A perhaps not guilty verdict. Because it's possible. It is entirely possible. I don't know about plausibility. It is entirely possible that Darren Wilson is in fact not guilty of murdering Mike Brown. It's entirely possible. That's why we have a system of justice. Let it play out. And I was this activist, this particular woman, I won't give the color of her skin, but we'll get to that in a bit. For some reason, it came up that she said she's a best-selling author. She actually said that. And I said, after going a few rounds, I said, please, I was incensed. I said, please, tell me where I can find what you've written. I need to find this, and I need to read it. I want to find it, and I want to read it. Now, first she linked to Amazon. And I said, no. I want to see an actual thing that you've written that is available for people to buy. I want to see it. So I got a specific link, two of them, in fact, of books, of books written by Kiki Shanique on the Peach Dollhouse label. I just, my brain's operating on so many levels, and this is one of those times where this bit that I'm about to do could very easily turn racist, and I'm going to try my best not to. Not because I am a racist, but just because I don't want to present it stereotypically. And I'm going to make jokes, and I'm going to be funny, try to be funny at least. But this is one of those times where if you're offended by what I'm about to do, it's you. You are offended. You're not offended at me. What you are really going to be offended at is that these stereotypes exist probably for a reason. Your brain is going to come logically to the conclusion that, man, that's stereotypical. And holy crap, he's not making this up. Maybe those stereotypes exist for, no way. Oh my God. Racist. See, that's the defense that a lot of people have. They hear the stereotypes. The stereotypes are offensive. Generalizing is offensive. Okay. And then you see the stereotype in action, or somebody presents the stereotype to you. But people can't handle that. They can't. Wait, what? Huh? No, I've already predetermined that stereotypes are completely offensive and completely made up and are just the tools of bigots and racists to try to marginalize groups of people. I've already preordained that. It can't be the stereotypes are actually played out and real and observable in society. It can't be. Oh my God, racist. I think I've got like a racist orgasm all over your face. Racism. So this is Kiki Shanique. This is from her Amazon page. And the book is entitled Young Lady, I am using Amazon's Look Inside feature. It is available for all of you. I don't believe I am violating Miss Shanique's copyright when I'm reading this book. And I'm only going to read a little bit. There's 2 chapters available. Okay, the dedication and part of chapter 1. There's 2 chapters available for Amazon's Look Inside feature, and you can find it on Amazon yourself. Again, by Kiki Shanique on the Peach Dollhouse publishing label. The title of the book is Young Lady. the dedication. A dramatic reading from the Book of Ho. Dedicated to all the baby daddies that have had to deal with a crazy, jealous baby mama just to be in your child's life. I salute you, and so does your child. Keep your head up, kings. There is hope out there. Chapter 1. Carmen. The title woman of the house is usually reserved for the mother of the family. However, when the mother runs out on her family and is never heard of again, the oldest daughter tends to become an adult before her time. That's exactly what happened to Carmen Young when she was only 14 years old. She had taken over all the duties of the household, from cooking to raising her baby sister. While most girls in the area was either clubbing, getting high, and chasing boys, Carmen was on her grind. Carmen, you are a godsend, Yasmin Fields said after she saw the final product of Carmen's work. Carmen and Yasmin had been friends for a few months now. It was nothing new for Yasmin to come in and get her hair done weekly. Carmen handed Yasmin a handheld mirror to show her the fresh, full sew-in she had just done. The honey blonde streaks were a nice touch against Yasmin's cream-colored skin. Girl, I'm finna be killing all those hoes at Club Passions tonight. Yeah, I bet. Give me my money, Carmen said, half joking. Yasmin placed the $45 fee in Carmen's hand and gave her a tight hug. Carmen snapped a few pictures for her Facebook portfolio and posted them. She swept up the pieces of hair that had fallen to the floor and put them in the trash. Yasmin was her last client of the day in her mini hair salon that her daddy fixed up for her. She had what some would call a kitchen hair salon. With the exception that her hair salon was in her now closed-off garage. Girl, you should really consider opening up a real salon or going big and traveling to do hair for clients outside of the city. You'd make some real bread then, Yasmin said as she admired her new style in the mirror. I'm saving up for something like that, but I don't plan on doing hair for the rest of my life. I'm going to model. Not one of those basic world star hip-hop models either. A real legit type model that's in the music videos. Music videos? Girl, you're going to be shaking your ass for some rapper or something? You're better than that. You got some real talent and ambition. You're only 20 and already running your own business. She knew Yasmin had a point. I won't be shaking my ass. I'll be looking sexy and classy. That concludes our limited reading of Chapter 1 from Young Lady by Kiki Shanique, available on Amazon. Maybe in future shows, we'll do some more readings from the Book of Ho. Weave be with you. All right. In other news, or not news, we're not doing the news yet. But I didn't discuss Emma Watson's. It's Watson, right? It's Watson, yeah. Emma Watson's speech on feminism and he for she. But I do follow former Vikings punter Chris Cluey on Twitter. And Chris had some things to say about feminism. Mostly good stuff, very progressive, Chris Cluey is. And posted a picture of him with a he for she written in like brownie batter. Written across his stomach. So very progressive Chris Cluey is. And in subsequent tweets talking about feminism and gender issues in society, very real, of course, highlighting men are many sexual conquests for men is lionized or are lionized by their male counterparts, but men viewing women having a lot of sexual conquest, women are labeled as whores and sluts and stuff, which, yeah, it's very real. But Cluey then decided to talk about the wage gap, the wage gender gap in America. 75 cents on the dollar is the money quote that a lot of people use when talking about the wage gender issue in America. Women doing the same job earn 75 cents on the dollar or 75% less on average than men doing the exact same job. And I've long had an issue with that because it appears to me that that statistic is just a little bit too quick and clean. It summarizes 77 cents on the dollar, 77%. Women earn 23% less than men, or however it's presented. It always seemed a little bit too simplistic to me. It's summarizing many different variables into one thing, income, for supposedly the same work, which, how do you account for that? How do you make sure that they're doing the same work? They have the same job? All right. That doesn't necessarily mean the same work. I mean, and of all people, Chris Cluey should know there are 32 NFL punters. Not all 32 NFL punters are paid the same way. Not all 32 NFL punters do the same work. Just because you have the job title, starting NFL punter, or starting NFL quarterback, or starting NFL running back, does not mean you do the same work. It does not mean that you, one, are as good as your job as other people with the same job title, or two, are compensated the same way as other people with the same job title. There are well-paid running backs, and there are guys on the practice squad. They're all on an NFL roster. They are all NFL running backs, except for the practice squad guys. There are third-string running backs and starting running backs. There we go. So I always viewed those with skepticism. Not to say that the math is wrong. Not to say, no, you don't know how to divide. But just, it seems as though that's a little bit too simplistic. And when viewed rationally, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because what it would mean for women to be paid 77 cents on the dollar as opposed to men for the same job and the same work, if that were actually true, and there was no debunking to be done, and there was no questioning it, and it was proper, all variables were properly and significantly accounted for and controlled. If that were really true, that means many businesses in America are operating at a 23%, are operating 23% too hot when paying for labor. Because if it's actually true, a business could get the same amount of work from a labor base of all women that they could a labor base of all men. Businesses in America are operating inherently inefficiently in paying for labor. Now, paying for labor is not all that goes into creating a product. Those don't represent all of business expenses, but they represent a significant bit. So you're talking about, if you're bringing a product to market in an incredibly competitive market, what's your price range? You're selling whatever widgets, right? And everybody is kind of around the $10 mark for this widget, but let's say labor is 50% of your product cost, of your unit cost, and you're overpaying, and everybody else in the market is overpaying for labor, bordering on 20%. That means you can come in with your, what would that be? That would be a 10% reduction. You could come in and solid, sell it for $9. 50%, 20% of your 50% is overpaid. You can slash that by bringing in all women, and bam, there you go. You're cornering the market. You could create a highly effective business with all female labor or all female employees for 25 to 23% cheaper. And to get the same amount of work and the same amount of stuff, actual effective work done. Why aren't people doing it? If we have an idea about free market or our brand on free market capitalism or kind of quasi-free market capitalism, wouldn't somebody have the bright idea by now go, let me just start a business, but I'll employ all women and I'll make a ton of money because I won't have to pay them as much because they work for 77 cents on the dollar. Yeah. Well, that's not happening a lot, is it? Well, why could that be? Why could it be what you observe, what the statistic predicts? The statistic, when applied to business, predicts that you will see more women in the workforce because they are cheaper. But you don't see that, do you? You don't observe what is predicted. Now, it could be that you're not observing properly, but it's really hard to screw up. Hey, what do you got down there? What is that? Are you dangling or are you inside? What is that? Okay, all right. It's pretty hard to screw that up. And I'm guessing, which not to marginalize from a societal standpoint, but I'm guessing that the amount of transgender and, gender identity issues that people have, the amount of those people in the workforce is marginal when talking about binary male-female. Not to say that, oh my God, they're not people, but just, in terms of accounting for statistics and stuff. So it's kind of hard to screw it up. So it's probably not observational bias. Could it be then that the statistic doesn't describe things properly? The math is true, but you are extrapolating meaning from this statistic that isn't really justified by the data. And I liken it to this. In baseball, when you are evaluating pitching, there's many different statistics. You can go one-loss record and ERA are the two main ones that people still cling to. Now there's run average, which is just a quick and easy how many runs when you start pitching. There's quality starts, there's walk rate, strikeout rate, there's whip, fielding independent pitching, and then you get into contact metrics and you get into strike zone metrics and missing bats and ground ball rate and BABIP, batting average on balls in play, a bunch of different stuff, and then you bring into luck and you try to isolate from defense. But for the longest time, people used earned run average, which is the number of earned runs. Earned runs in baseball are different from just runs. Not all runs are earned, but some runs are earned. Earned runs, on average, is the number of runs per 9 innings. Not per start, but if you were to go 9 innings, this is what you would get. Earned runs. Not runs, earned runs. So if you've got a tremendously bad defense, you could have an earned run average of 2, but still give up 10 runs a game. Your earned run average would be 2 because of the vagaries in scoring baseball and earned versus unearned runs. But it earned run average, suffice it to say, incorporates a whole lot more volatility than it means to. It's trying to describe the ability of the pitcher, but what it is also doing is ascribing to the pitcher the ability of his defense, of the park, of the league, of all sorts of things that the pitcher has no control over. So when you use ERA and you say, oh, this is a good ERA or this is a bad earned run average, you are more likely to overcompensate or undercompensate for what the pitcher can actually do. You are more likely to think a bad pitcher good or a good pitcher bad when you just use earned run average. Same goes for one loss, because one loss takes everything into account, and it's just, did you win or did you lose? And earned run, and again, the math works for earned run average. It's not that people aren't dividing and adding and all this crap, right? It's that, well, you are trying to extrapolate meaning from this set of data, earned run average, and it doesn't really describe what you are trying to describe. You're trying to describe the pitcher's ability, but earned run average describes a whole slew of things other than the pitcher's ability. It describes a whole slew of things that influences the number, not the pitcher's ability. And it's been a game of cat and mouse for the last 2 decades in baseball, trying to isolate a pitcher's ability from influencing factors. Again, defense, park, league, all other kinds of stuff. Pitch type, all that crap. So earned run average, you kind of get an idea of stuff, but it's very, very, very easy to be fooled. You can have a bad pitcher with a great earned run average or an awful below replacement level player who in short spurts has a tremendous earned run average. And you would think, oh my God, you should be a Cy Young winner. No, they suck. Bad. But they've just been lucky or have had things that they had no influence in or on heaped upon them. They had a great defense. Well, they didn't have anything to do with the defense, but that plays into earned run average. And I've always viewed this statistic 70 cents or 75, 77 cents on the dollar like that. So, okay, well, does it really explain what you're trying to, does it really mean what you're trying to explain, this number? Well, I found an article from the Wall Street Journal. The title, The 77 Cents on a Dollar Myth About Women's Pay. April 8th is, oh no, I need to subscribe to the damn Wall Street Journal? Screw you. Oh, I read it just before. I read it yesterday. Oh, come on. Damn it. I was going to read you a nice story. I was going to read you a story. Not the book of Ho. The book of Job. The book of Job. But anyway, in this piece, using the Department of Labor statistics from 2012, they go through, or the author goes through and breaks down and accounts for and controls variables that the 77 cents on a dollar myth or the 77 cents on a dollar statistic just assumes. They take the average, the median woman's pay and the median men's pay for the same kind of job, put the two in a ratio and go, see, look, the woman earns 77% of what the man does. But what that same Department of Labor statistics show is that men are more than twice as likely to work longer hours. And when you account for that variable, the 77% myth goes to something like 88%. And also, when you account for the fact that men are more than likely going to have long, uninterrupted stretches of experience in their field, as opposed to taking 9 or 6 months off to tend to the needs of a family or starting a family, which is what women tend to do. Not all women do it, but what women tend to do. The statistics show. When you account for that, it gets a little bit smaller. It goes into the 90%. And then when you account for the fact that men tend to work in more risky positions, that tend to take riskier jobs, which compensate them more for their longer hours, when you account for that, you get further into the 90%. When you account for all the variables, and it culminates citing a study by two a male and female husband and wife economics team, that when accounting for all the variables that go into labor, when accounting for all the variables that go into same job, same level of experience, same education, same uninterrupted work history, same level of risk in the job, both physical, and you may not have a market for what you do anymore. When you take all those into account, the margin of error, the difference between male and female pay using the 2012 Department of Labor census data or whatever it was, is about 5%, maybe, they say. And they say that 5% is within their margin of error, is within the margin of error of the statistics taken. So when you actually account for all the variables, the wage gender gap doesn't really exist. It sounds nice, and when you use just blunt objects of statistics that are haphazardly thrown together, it's like, oh yeah, when you use the labor statistic equivalent of earn run average, you get a conclusion like women earn 77 cents on the dollar opposed to men. But when you actually account for the variables that go into labor, that difference tends to disappear. The only thing I saw was that coming out of college, when a man and a woman, say, John Doe and Jane Doe, when John Doe and Jane Doe graduate from college with the same degree in the same field, they are both as equally unexperienced as the other. They have the same degree, let's assume same grades, all this crap. Women tend to earn less when going into that respective field, the same respective field as John Doe. They tend to earn a little bit less, not 77 cents on the dollar less. Not a huge amount, but they tend to earn just a little bit less. And how to explain that, I don't know. I don't know. If I had to guess, I don't know. Maybe corporations, maybe employers are less willing to hire young, unexperienced women because there's the possibility that down the road they may start a family and be gone for extended periods of time. I don't know. But that is really the only footing that I've seen for the gender wage gap issue. It's not 77 cents on the dollar. 77 cents or 75 cents or 75% or women earn 25 or 23% less than men for the same work is a myth. It's a myth. It is an ugly, ugly statistic because it accounts for variables that aren't really accounted for, or it purports itself to account for variables that haven't really been accounted for. And when you break down the numbers and actually go through and account for variables and account for differing levels of risk, differing levels of experience, differing levels of education, differing levels of uninterrupted work history, when you account for all that, the wage gap tends to disappear. It gets within a margin of, any given year, yeah, men may make more than women. Women may make more than men in any given year once you account for all that stuff. So it's nice to say, oh, you look at this, women are disenfranchised because they make so much less. No, they really don't, or they make less, but they're not doing the same. When you actually equalize what men and women do in the workforce, they're approximate. They are about the same. The people that say, "Oh, well, I do the same work and I earn less than the men around me," well, then go through and actually, instead of taking it at face value, and that's the problem because everybody takes these things at face value. They take the statistics, 77 cents on the dollar. Oh, look at that. Look at this injustice. Look at it. Nobody thinks to question. And nobody thinks to be skeptical. And the worst part is that if you are at all skeptical, and Chris Cluey took a sarcastic shot at people questioning the numbers that he quoted, 75, 70 cents on the dollar, whatever it is. He said, I am so shocked that men think that that those numbers aren't reliable or aren't real. So shocked. Implying that I somehow, or men somehow can't be skeptical about those numbers because they have a penis. Saying, you can't be skeptical about these numbers because you're a man. Because you benefit from this. You can't be skeptical about something that says you're benefiting from it. I say, what? Isn't that... Wait, hold on a second. You're accusing society of being sexist. You're accusing society, business specifically, of being misogynistic. But... you're turning around and telling me I can't question something because I got a penis. You're telling me I can't do that. Isn't that gender bias? Or are you saying, oh, no, man, you can't have an opinion about this because you're a man? What? Wait a minute. That's sexism used to quell skepticism about sexism. What? Okay, I guess. So go ahead. There you go. You win. Progressive America. You have your little sound bites. You have your little quote, 77 cents on the dollar, and you're going to quote it ad nauseum, no matter what. And you're going to label as misogynistic, as sexist, anybody who dares to be skeptical. And what that does is it kowtows people to not be skeptical. Be skeptical. 77 cents on the dollar. Prove your math. All right, here it is. Well, you're not accounting for these variables. I don't see you controlling for all this. Where's that control? Where's that control? Where's that control? Oh, well, what are you, some kind of sexist? Well, no, I'm just being skeptical. Despite what progressives, again, and people are given statistics in furtherance of a narrative. Why would you not be, if somebody says, I'm going to prove this narrative to you. Okay, here are statistics that prove my narrative. Aren't you skeptical? Shouldn't you, you should be skeptical of what I'm saying. And of course you're going to be, but why are you skeptical of the original numbers? Like, I'd like to see somebody take a crack at that to see if there's any other way to explain it. And if there's not, well then okay. But I see, or at least I saw in front of me before the Wall Street Journal put it behind a paywall, I see another way to explain what you observe. And this one, the one that accounts, that controls for all the variables, is a whole lot easier to swallow than corporate America, the employers of America, the labor employers of America are all misogynistic douches who operate at 23% inefficiency on labor just so that they can have a couple more penises around the water cooler. I call crap on that. All right, let's bring it home. Let's turn that crap down. Another great episode of The Lefty Show. I thank you all for joining. I had a great time putting on the show for you. I hope you had a great time listening. Thank you to everybody for watching, liking, favoriting, subscribing on YouTube. YouTube.com/LeftyOX is where you can go to find the show in its YouTube formation, as well as gaming and vlogging content. Thank you to everybody for following me on Twitter. @Lefty643 is where you can do that, as well as everybody. Thank you for donating. I'mRaising.com/643 Productions. And thank you, big heartfelt thanks to everybody that has been sharing the show with friends, family, and coworkers. It really does help the show grow, and I thank you for doing so. Download the show. Take it with you, whether on your PC, mobile device, or tablet, Android, iOS. It doesn't matter. Go wherever you get your podcasts and search The Lefty Show. Be sure to subscribe and download all the episodes there. Anyway, guys, that's my time. I got to get out of here. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you next time. I'm out. Bye.
King of the world, baby. King of the world.